So whenever you see that, you first identify those victims, you select the method, you engage with them, collect the data, and then you're out. So this is exactly a social engineering lifestyle attack is all about. Voice phishing, where you're going to impersonate them by messages which are going to target their emotions, make them do that wrong thing, and then take out the data from them. The pretexting, create a fabricated scenario to obtain information from the individuals. Good morning and welcome to the second session, Unit 2, 5th semester, Cybersecurity in BCom. We're going to talk about cybercrime and the cyber law. Now, whenever we talk about the cybersecurity, we need to understand the various social attacks that are happening here. Now, what is a social attack that we need to first understand? The social engineering life cycle is something all about making the customers get lured to some kind of illegitimate attack, trying to take their data away by getting into a closer interaction and then exiting out of the system. So it removes all the traces of malware, covering the tracks, bringing a shred to the natural end. Now, you obtain information over a period of time, and finally what you do is that you completely get hold of it. So whenever you see that, you first identify those victims, you select the method, you engage with them, collect the data, and then you're out. So this is exactly a social engineering lifestyle attack is all about. Now, when you go further, these are manipulative technique used by cyber criminals to exploit human psychology. So social engineering attack is not just about the technical factors as we are talking about, but this deals with the human psychology. How do you trick individuals? How do you bring them into a particular zone and then use the vulnerability to claim whatever you want? Now, if you look into it, these are all compromising their security altogether. And we have factors like phishing, spear phishing, where you tailor messages to specific individuals. You use a veiling where you are looking into the high profile individuals whose account carry a big value, followed by voice phishing, where you're going to impersonate them by messages which are going to target their emotions, make them do that wrong thing, and then take out the data from them. Followed by which, the pretexting, create a fabricated scenario to obtain information from the individuals. You also do baiting, where free software or media downloads to lure the victim, downloading malware, tailgating them, taking advantage of the access point and privileges, and just walking into the building without having the prior access or permission. You have the quid pro quo, which means to say that offering technical support or free software installation altogether. A watering hole attack, which is very, very prominent these days, where they compromise on the online platforms which are commonly visited by the target audience. So all these kind of attacks have been followed by the social engineering methods to make the customer look very vulnerable, take out the data, take out their financial factors. So we need to be very, very careful when we are dealing with the cyberspace. Followed by which, the social engineering attacks also gets on to the factor that you need to have the awareness and education. Training individuals to recognize, respond to social engineering attempts is very, very critical. One needs to know exactly what they are doing. Because whenever we are talking about the scope of internet, it's very wide. People just get into the internet seeking information, but they do not know where the potholes are there, where the traps have been already established. So one needs to have the awareness, one needs to have a complete education of what kind of websites they are visiting, why they are visiting, and you need to have always a verification tag so that you are able to understand that the sensitive information is not being leaked outside. You need to go only to those kinds of websites which are being verified officially so that it is safe for you to do the browsing. Followed by the data protection. You need to protect all your sensitive data. You cannot take it very casually. You cannot take it for an advantage, saying that the data would be available every time, because there are people around you who might take that data away from you. Vigilance, be always cautious and skeptical about unsolicited communication. Never click on links which you do not know, which you do not understand, or which come from dubious sources altogether. Followed by which we are also going to talk about the security software, the updates, email, and when we talk about those web filters, data backs up, and we are talking about the access control today, cyber hygiene and incident response team. All these things are needed to protect you from the malware and ransomware that's happening. So in every factor, you need to understand that there needs to be an incident response team that will take care of these kind of situations and run it across. If this is not happening, then there would be a problem. Why? Because the customers will feel completely difficult in terms of accessing the web services. Followed by which the 0 day and the 0 click. Now, a 0 day and 0 click looks to you very simple, but it's quite dangerous. Why? 0 day is a kind of attack that where we are going to put the vulnerabilities are in such high conditions, such a risk that they are unknown to the vendor, meaning there is no time available for the protection at all. It comes to you like a rapid missile that's just fired out. All of a sudden, out of the blue, it just comes and attacks your system and you're completely unaware. You do not know how to protect yourself. That's exactly a 0 day attack coming into it. And this is very, very dangerous. Why? Because cyber criminals discover these vulnerabilities. They exploit you to that extent where the business completely comes to a crippling halt altogether. And you would also see that it's completely shattered in terms of data and you do not have any response. You do not know how to come back. You do not know how to retrieve that data back. So a 0 day attack is potentially a very dangerous form of attack that the cyber criminals plan. They look into those areas where you can exploit, where the system is highly vulnerable, easily penetratable, and they start getting into it and then gain unauthorized access to your data and to your services. Followed by which the significance today, if you start seeing, because they are people who can develop into those systems, they have a chance to update, do whatever with the software. Now, the targets for 0 day are all those operating system, web browsers, even the mobile applications. They have also come under the 0 day factor altogether. Now, what is a mitigation? Now, this word is very, very important. A mitigation means you are just planning something, a backup kind of a thing, a patch through which you can mitigate, you can reduce the risk factor that's going to happen because of these 0 day factors here. So when you regularly update your software, when you are aware about your system, you know exactly what kind of web pages, what kind of application that needs to be downloaded, that needs to be accessed, and you have enough measures to prevent the intrusion of illegal activities towards your application, towards your web services. That means you can be assured that you can prevent these kind of attacks to your applications, to your system altogether. So one needs to regularly update, one needs to employ updated security, one needs to have those firewalls checked so that you are keeping your system and data protected always. Moving further, we're going to talk about the 0 click attack. A 0 click attack is just the sub-version of 0 day. Now, that is also very important. Why? Because unknowingly, when a victim clicks on a link on a website altogether, and then the downloading starts happening, it's going to destroy your entire system because you just downloaded a malicious code which is going to burn out your entire data, which is going to just take out your system, and you have absolutely zilch clue about what is happening inside there. So this means to say that you need to activate your system to such an extent that whenever you're going to get malicious code or links, it has to warn you. A security warning has to be popping up on your screen saying that please do not click on those links. Followed by which the targets are including smartphones, laptops, software. Significance of this comes very, very important because any device that is compromised, any device that gets compromised in a corporate environment, in an institution, can become a soft target, and then the entire system can be eroded. So what you need to do is that you have to implement mobile device management. You have to install all those software that can give you a warning, that can tell you clearly how you need to mitigate the risk, where are all the control points, the checkpoint access, so that it follows a multi-layered security approach altogether, and we can prevent these kind of attacks harming your entire system. Followed by which we are going into the modus of operandi. That's all together. Now the first thing is they either go by phishing or social engineering, the malware, ransomware, exploiting software vulnerability, the DOS attacks, password attacks, social media scams, and that email account compromise. So these are all the methods that you are seeing in the modern day through which people are entering into your system. They're disturbing it and they are creating a whole lot of problem altogether. Followed by which the data breaches, cryptojacking. Now this is very, very important, where people start getting into taking away your cryptocurrency. Of late, people like WazirX and there were so many other companies which got into this problem, and millions of dollars worth cryptocurrency was just taken out. It was vanished in the thin air altogether. The reason for all this is that the system is not ready to protect its data. Now, you need to have systems that are immune to these kind of attacks, but nevertheless, the cyber criminals always find out a way to mine out these currencies and keep the customers out of the loop, which makes their entire value lost within a few minutes altogether. Now, the SIM card cloning, which is also getting you into an unauthorized access position, the e-commerce and online payment fraud, cyber extortion, trying to threaten somebody online and take money out of it, dark web activities where you're talking about illegal activities that include sale of stolen data, tools, farming, all these kind of things are leading into a difficult situation today. Why? Because understand, the usage of internet and cyberspace was actually developed for the improvement of technology, business, and communication. But today, if you look into the cyberspace altogether with all these kind of threatening activities happening, this could prove to be a real danger for the consumer in future. Though many companies want to go online, they want to establish themselves as the next level business, move into a different league altogether. But these kind of activities can bring their business to a grinding halt. So they need to be very, very careful about how they launch their business online and how they protect their data and assets. Moving further, we are also going to talk about reporting of cyber crimes. Now, in India, there had been several cases where, financial forgeries has happened or cyber crimes have happened. So we do have dedicated stations through which you can report your cyber crimes, starting with the local law enforcement agency, reporting to the National Cybercrime Agency, reporting the financial loss. And the most important thing is that you need to have proper documentation and verification done immediately so that you can report it to the nearest police station and get your data protected. Now, the most important thing is the mitigation, as I was telling you about the incident response, the isolate the infected system, patch management, the firewall and intrusion system, antivirus and anti-malware solution, security awareness, multi-factor authentication, logging and monitoring, and the business continuity and disaster response team. All these things are very, very important for you to understand. Why? Because we are in that location, we are in that system where we need to understand how things are moving in terms of our growth, in terms of our factors altogether. Now, when we are talking about the legal perspective of cybercrime, cybercrimes are often national borders, making it both essential for domestic and international frameworks to be in place, combat effectively. Cybercrimes and laws and registration, most countries have enacted the cyber-specific laws to address those cybercrimes. These laws define cybercrimes, they establish the legal penalties, provide legal framework for prosecuting this offenders. And if you look into, countries may enter into international agreements and conventions to address the cross-border cybercrime. So today, all the nations across the globe are facing problems related to cybercrimes. So over a period of time, there have been conventions, there have been agreements that have been made to prevent these kind of losses. Followed by which we also have the jurisdiction, the extractionality, which is coming into picture, where you can extradite those people who are challenging the system. You can take away those people away from the normal walk of life and bring them before the court of law. And legal definitions of cybercrime, that's also coming in a big way. Now we are trying to talk about these online theft and fraud that needs to be completely taken away. And you also need to see how you can identify those criminals, take them away from the normal system, and make sure that cyberspace becomes a more secured environment altogether. Followed by which we have penalties and sentencing under the system. We have digital evidence and forensics. We also have cybersecurity regulations and compliance. And these are the things that are being followed by companies today, which try to tell people very clearly that in case if you do any kind of illegal activities, there is a punishment waiting for you. Followed by which the IT Act of 2000, which is very, very important. This was enacted on the year 2000 on June 9th altogether, with the primary objective to keep in recognition of all the electronic records facilitating e-commerce and activities in India. We also verify on the digital signature that recognizes all those factors which are legal, and they provide a valid framework for the electronic network. Followed by which the electronic records, which gives a legal status as physical records, making them admissible as evidence in the court. Now, we are also trying to talk about cyber crimes, which provisions to address various cyber crimes, including hacking, cyber terrorism, and all those factors. The cyber tribunals established act that we are talking about when it comes in terms of to handle disputes, appeals related to cyber crimes altogether. Intermediaries, which define the factors that often give them the certain legal protections. Now, when we are talking about this act, the amendment to this act happened in the year 2011, which is very, very important for us. The amendment actually tried to bring in a lot of changes, stricter penalties, and even situations which could handle those intermediaries and provisions, providing a greater protection to the user altogether. So this is very, very important and useful for all of us. So in case if you are facing any challenges in the cyber area, you can always refer to the IT Amendment Act of 2011, and that would help you to find out solution for all the challenges that you have undergone. Followed by which this amendment, which also recently happened, was in the year 2019, 6 years back, where we introduced provisions to protection of children from sexual offenses altogether, and the privacy bills that have been brought together to protect the data in India. With this, I come to the end of today's session. I hope and believe that all the factors that have been spoken here would be of great help to you, both in terms of theory and in practical walk of life. In the upcoming session, we would be talking about the social media and the social media platforms altogether. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.